Okay, so I'm going to be refuting Johan's claim about women in the military. His main claim was that female soldiers serving in combat would hinder the infantry quality and performance. His secondary claims were that women are less qualified for combat than men, women serving in combat will lower the physical standards, and that women in combat roles will result in conflicts. For his first secondary claim, he said that women are less qualified for combat. His example for that was the physical fitness test you have to take, which is push-ups, sit-ups, and running. But what relevance do push-ups and sit-ups have to actual combat? It's not like every time you pull a trigger on a gun, you have to do a certain amount of sit-ups or push-ups, because that would be stupid. He also, push-ups and sit-ups do not protect you from bullets or grenades or any of the enemy fire. They don't help you with that at all. And according to the military website, combat is actually 90% mental and 10% physical. Mental, not as in like academic classes you have to take while in the military. Mental as in how well you push through pain and different hardships. The website also said that if you show up out of shape, the mental training is twice as hard. They describe mental training as the willpower to keep going and not quit. And they give examples as there will be times where you feel like you can't run any farther or do another push-up, but mental training helps you tolerate the pain and keep going while others give up from exhaustion. And anybody can be mentally ready. It's not gender-based. So that whole claim about less qualified for combat, his examples given for that make no sense. Now, second claim that women serving in combat will lead to lower physical standards. I'm going to start off by saying both men and women have the same amount of muscles in them. I was not born with more muscles than women, and they were not born with more muscles than men. So it is possible for women to be just as strong or stronger than men. It all depends on how much work you put into your body. Now, there's an example of Sergeant Leanne Hester. This is for both the secondary claim and the first one. Or sorry, for the first and second of the secondary claims. Her story is that Hester's squad of 2 women and 8 men in 3 Humvees were shadowing a 30-truck supply convoy when approximately 50 insurgent fighters ambushed the convoy with AK-47s, RPK machine guns, and rocket-propelled grenades. The squad moved to the side of the road, flanked the insurgents, and cut off their escape route. Hester maneuvered her team through the kill zone into the flanking position, where she and her squad leader, Staff Sergeant Timothy F. 9, assaulted a trench line with hand grenades and M203 grenade launcher rounds. Hester 9 assaulted and cleared 2 trenches, and during the 25-minute firefight, Hester killed at least 3 enemy combatants with her M4 carbine. When the battle was over, 27 insurgents were dead, 6 were wounded, and 1 captured. Both Sergeant Hester and 9 were awarded the Silver Star. That story says that women can fight just as well as men, and even together they work. They can overcome any hardship mentally. And he also had an example under this secondary claim that national security would be lowered because women would be in the army, but that has no relevance to them actually serving and decreasing the quality and performance of combat. His final secondary claim is that women in combat roles will result in conflicts. Now, conflicts are guaranteed wherever you go. It's Army, Navy, like any part of the military, there will be conflicts just because that's how human nature is. But one thing I looked up is the Army Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Program. The Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Program reinforces the Army's commitment to eliminate incidents of sexual assault through a comprehensive policy that centers on awareness and prevention, training and education, victim advocacy, response, reporting, and accountability. That is, it's there to help prevent sexual assault. It's impossible to get rid of it because that's how human nature is, but we're trying to help with anything we can. Now, overall, sum this up, women are just as capable as men to fight in the Army. There's no evidence shown that proves men are better than females or vice versa. It all takes a huge amount of physical and mental strength to be a part of the United States military.
All right, well, the issues are laid out clearly. On the first point, basically, you challenge the relevance of the physical training statistics that the advocate cites, and I think you've got a reasonable press on that one. There's an interesting piece of evidence that says 90% of it is mental, 10% is physical, and the question, though, is how is that mental measured? How is it tested? And it sounds like the very examples that you're talking about involve physical activity and whether or not they can meet those particular physical challenges. I do think that there's another way of phrasing this, and that is that obviously if anybody can meet those physical challenges, then that's as far as it ought to go. If somebody can't meet those physical challenges, then fine, they can't serve in the combat capacity that is being advanced here. But if they can, what difference does it make if it's a man and a woman? I think that that's the way I think you would couch that argument there. You've got a very good counterexample talking about the effectiveness of women in combat by showing the story with Sergeant Hester and her effectiveness in the combat situation. So, I mean, there's clearly at least a practical example here, and you can contrast that to the only statistic that the advocate presents, and I think you need to do that a little bit more, which is this, physical training percentage of pass rates, that sort of thing. On the second point, on national security, you say it doesn't seem relevant. Well, if readiness is affected by this, then it seems like it's relevant. I'm not sure why your argument makes much sense. There may be something else that you're thinking of here, but it wasn't very clear. On the third point, the argument about conflicts being, not being particularly unique, that's a universal kinds of issue. The advocate's argument, though, is that they're going to be substantially more likely to occur in this situation, and I don't think you really addressed the likelihood issue. You do have a good piece of information that talks about how there's a program to address this. The question is, how effective is that program? And of course, one of the issues that comes up is if it's not effective now, when the troops are not integrated into combat situations, is it likely to be even less effective when they are integrated in those situations? I think that would be a potential argument for the advocate that they could follow up on, and that's why I think some measurement of how effective it is would be helpful on this point for you. All right. My whole thing ran out of power, so not the clock, excuse me.